The plate of lemon tart shattered on the floor, its sugary shards glinting under the chandelier's glow. Elena Harper, barely 21, stood frozen, her heart pounding as her mother's scream echoed through the dining room. "You're a disgrace," her mother spat, the words slicing deeper than any knife could. It was Easter Sunday, 2017, in the small town of Willow Creek, Virginia. The Harper family's annual gathering had been picture-perfect until Elena, trembling but resolute, admitted she was in love with Sophia Reyes. The room fell silent, forks clattering against plates. Her father, a deacon at the local church, rose slowly, his face a mask of fury. "Get out," he said, voice low and final. "You're no daughter of mine." By nightfall, Elena was on the street, her suitcase stuffed with clothes and a single photo of her and Sophia, taken in secret by the creek where they'd first kissed. Elena had known the risks. Willow Creek was a place where tradition clung like ivy, strangling anything that didn't fit its mold. She'd grown up under the weight of her family's expectations: church every Sunday, modest dresses, and the unspoken rule that love meant a husband and children. But Sophia, with her fearless laugh and paint-stained fingers, had unraveled all of that. They'd met 2 years ago at a community art fair, where Sophia's vibrant murals stood out like a rebellion against the town's muted palette. Elena, helping at her mother's bakery booth, had been drawn to Sophia's warmth, her stories of growing up in a loud, loving Mexican-American family in Richmond. Their friendship bloomed into stolen glances, then secret meetings, until Elena couldn't deny the truth. She loved Sophia with every fiber of her being. Now, as she trudged through the rain-soaked streets, the weight of her family's rejection sank in. She knocked on Sophia's apartment door, 30 miles away in Richmond, her tears mixing with the rain. Sophia opened the door, her dark curls loose, her eyes widening at the sight of Elena's soaked figure. "They kicked me out," Elena whispered, her voice breaking. Sophia pulled her inside, wrapping her in a blanket in her arms. "You're home now," Sophia said, her voice steady but laced with pain. "We'll figure this out together." The next morning they sat at Sophia's tiny kitchen table, coffee cups between them. Elena's hands shook as she recounted the night, her mother's accusations, her father's cold dismissal, her younger brother's silence. Sophia listened, her jaw tight. "They don't get to define you," she said, reaching for Elena's hand. "You're enough. You're everything." But Elena's eyes were distant, haunted by the life she'd lost. She'd always been the good daughter, the one who memorized Bible verses and helped her mother bake pies for church fundraisers. Now she was nothing to them. Sophia, older by 2 years and hardened by her own battles, knew the world could be cruel. Her family had embraced her when she came out at 18, but she'd faced slurs at art school and lost gigs when clients learned she was gay. Still, she built a life on her terms, freelancing as an artist and teaching community classes. She saw the same fire in Elena, buried under the pain. "You can stay here," Sophia said. "We'll start over. You're not alone." Elena nodded, but doubt gnawed at her. She had no job, no degree, just a high school diploma and a knack for baking. Her mother's bakery, Harper's Sweet Haven, had been her world, where she'd learned to knead dough and pipe perfect rosettes. Now it was a memory she couldn't touch. "What if I'm not strong enough?" she asked, her voice small. Sophia cupped her face, her thumb brushing Elena's cheek. "You're stronger than you know. And I'm not going anywhere." Days turned into weeks. Elena found work at a diner, flipping burgers while Sophia painted late into the night. They shared a twin bed in Sophia's cramped apartment, their love a quiet defiance against the world. But Willow Creek's shadow lingered. Elena's phone stayed silent, no calls from her parents, no texts from her brother. She'd see families at the diner, laughing over pancakes, and her chest would ache. Sophia noticed, always pulling her close when the pain surfaced. "We're building something new," Sophia would say, sketching Elena's face in her notebook, capturing the curve of her smile. One night, Elena woke from a nightmare, her father's voice, the slamming door. Sophia held her, whispering, "You're safe." But Elena wasn't sure. She felt like a ghost, unmoored from the life she'd known. Yet Sophia's belief in her was a lifeline. At the diner, Elena started experimenting, sneaking her own recipes into the menu: lavender scones, rosemary shortbread. Customers raved, and the manager took notice. "You've got a gift," he said, promoting her to head baker. It was a small victory, but it sparked something in Elena. Maybe she could rebuild. By summer, Elena and Sophia dreamed bigger. They saved every penny, talking late into the night about opening a bakery together, one that welcomed everyone, no matter who they loved. Elena sketched recipes while Sophia designed a logo, a heart-shaped loaf with their initials. But the past wasn't done with them. A letter arrived from Willow Creek, forwarded from Elena's old address. It was from her brother Caleb, now 18. "I miss you," it read. "I didn't speak up that night. I'm sorry." Elena's heart twisted. She wanted to write back, but fear stopped her. What if he was like their parents? Sophia saw the letter and sat Elena down. "You don't have to decide now," she said. "But he's reaching out. That's something." Elena nodded, tucking the letter away. She wasn't ready to face her family, not yet. But with Sophia by her side, she felt a flicker of hope. They were carving out a life piece by piece, in a world that didn't always want them. And though the road ahead was uncertain, Elena knew one thing. Sophia was her home, her courage, her everything. 2 years later, Richmond buzzed with possibility, but Elena still carried the weight of Willow Creek in her bones. At 23, she stood behind the counter of their fledgling bakery, Heart's Haven, wiping flour from her hands. The shop was small, tucked between a bookstore and a laundromat, but it was theirs, hers, and Sophia's, built on grit and love. The bakery's opening had been a gamble. Sophia's art commissions and Elena's diner savings barely covered the lease, but they poured their souls into it. The walls were lined with Sophia's murals, vibrant swirls of color that made customers linger. Elena's pastries, infused with unexpected flavors like cardamom and rose, drew crowds. They'd named the bakery after their dream, a haven for anyone who felt like an outsider. But success didn't erase the ache of Elena's past. She still flinched when she saw a car with Willow Creek plates, half expecting her father's stern face. Sophia, now 25, was the anchor. She handled the books, charmed customers, and painted signs that read, "All are welcome." Her confidence steadied Elena, but there were cracks. Sophia hid her own fears about money, about the bakery failing, about Elena's unresolved pain. One night after a long shift, Elena found Sophia staring at a blank canvas, her hands trembling. "What if we can't make this work?" Sophia asked, her voice raw. Elena knelt beside her, taking her hands. "We're doing it. Together." Sophia smiled, but her eyes were distant. The bakery became a haven for Richmond's misfits, queer kids, artists, anyone who didn't fit the mold. Elena baked for them, pouring her heart into every tart and loaf. But the past crept in. One day, a customer mentioned Willow Creek's annual fair. Elena froze, remembering her mother's pies, her father's proud smile when she won a baking contest at 16. She hadn't spoken to them in 2 years. Caleb's letter, now creased from rereading, was the only thread left. Elena wrote back to Caleb, hesitant at first. They exchanged letters, then calls. He was at college now, studying biology, and he'd broken free of their parents' rigid beliefs. "I should have stood up for you," he said during one call, his voice thick. Elena cried, forgiving him. But when he asked her to visit Willow Creek for his graduation, fear gripped her. "I can't," she said. "Not yet." Sophia overheard, her expression unreadable. Later, she said, "You don't have to go back. But if you want to, I'll be there." Elena shook her head. Willow Creek felt like a trap. The bakery thrived, but tension grew. Elena threw herself into work, baking until midnight, avoiding the question of her family. Sophia noticed, her patience fraying. One evening, after a customer complained about a gay bakery, Sophia snapped. "I'm tired of carrying this alone," she told Elena, her voice sharp. "You're here, but you're not here." Elena was stunned. She hadn't realized how her silence, her fear, was pulling them apart. "I'm trying," she whispered. Sophia softened, pulling her close. "I know. But you have to face it, Elena. For us." They made a pact. No more hiding. Elena started therapy, unraveling the shame her family had woven into her. Sophia joined her for sessions, learning to voice her own fears. They rebuilt brick by brick, their love stronger for it. But Willow Creek loomed. Caleb invited them to his graduation again, and this time Elena didn't say no. She wasn't ready to face her parents, but she wanted to see her brother. Sophia squeezed her hand. "We'll do it together." The drive to Willow Creek was quiet, the rolling hills a reminder of Elena's past. Sophia's hand rested on her knee, steadying her. At the college, Caleb ran to them, hugging Elena tightly. "You came," he said, tears in his eyes. He looked at Sophia, grinning. "You're even cooler than she said." Sophia laughed, easing the tension. But as they sat in the bleachers, Elena saw familiar faces, church members, old neighbors. Whispers followed. She gripped Sophia's hand, her heart racing. After the ceremony, Caleb pulled them aside. "Mom and Dad are here," he said. Elena's stomach dropped. She hadn't seen them since that Easter night. Sophia's arm slid around her waist. "You don't have to talk to them," she said. But Elena shook her head. "I need to." They found her parents in the crowd, older now, their faces etched with time. Her mother's eyes widened. Her father's jaw tightened. "Elena," her mother said, voice strained. "You look well." It wasn't an apology, but it was something. Elena stood tall, Sophia by her side. "I am," she said. "I built a life. A good one." Her father said nothing, but his eyes lingered on Sophia's hand in hers. The encounter was brief, unfinished. Elena felt no closure, only a strange relief. She'd faced them and survived. On the drive back, Sophia turned up the radio, singing off-key to make Elena laugh. "You were brave," Sophia said. Elena smiled, her heart lighter. "Because of you." They didn't know what the future held, but they knew they'd face it together, two women, building a haven in a world that wasn't always kind. 5 years after that Easter disaster, Heart's Haven was a Richmond institution. At 26, Elena had become a local legend, her pastries featured in food blogs and magazines. Sophia, now 28, had her art displayed in galleries, her murals a backdrop to the city's vibrant queer scene. Their love had weathered storms, but it shone brighter for it. The bakery was more than a business, it was a sanctuary. Queer teens gathered there after school, sharing stories over free cookies Elena slipped them. Sophia taught art classes in the back, her laughter filling the space. But success brought new challenges. Investors circled, offering to franchise Heart's Haven, tempting Elena and Sophia with wealth but threatening their vision. "This place is for us," Elena said, rejecting an offer. Sophia agreed, but the pressure weighed on them. Late nights turned into arguments about money, about growth, about the past Elena still carried. One evening, a letter arrived from Willow Creek. It was from Elena's mother, Margaret. "Your father's sick," it read. "He's asking for you." Elena's hand shook as she read it aloud to Sophia. Part of her wanted to ignore it, to let the pain stay buried. But another part, the part that still loved the parents who'd raised her, felt a pull. Sophia sat beside her, quiet at first. "You don't owe them anything," she said finally. "But if you go, I'm with you." Elena wrestled with the decision for days. She remembered her father's cold words, her mother's tears. But she also remembered the good bedtime stories, her father teaching her to ride a bike. Therapy had taught her to hold both truths. Her parents had hurt her, but they were human. She decided to go, not for them but for herself. Sophia packed their bags, her presence a quiet promise. Willow Creek hadn't changed. The church steeples still pierced the sky, the streets lined with familiar houses. At the hospital, Elena's father, Robert, lay frail in a bed, his once stern face softened by illness. Margaret sat beside him, her hands clasped tightly. When Elena and Sophia entered, the air grew thick. "Elena," Robert said, his voice weak. I didn't expect you." Margaret's eyes darted to Sophia, then back to Elena. "You brought her," she said, not unkindly but with an edge. They talked haltingly at first. Robert admitted he'd been wrong, his words slow and heavy. "I was raised a certain way," he said. "But I lost my daughter because of it." It wasn't a full apology, but it cracked something open in Elena. Margaret was quieter, her guilt evident but unspoken. Sophia stayed close, her hand on Elena's back, grounding her. When they left, Elena felt no fairy tale reconciliation, but a weight had lifted. She'd faced them not as a scared girl, but as a woman who'd built her own world. Back in Richmond, Heart's Haven faced a crisis. A rival bakery opened nearby, backed by corporate money, drawing away customers. Elena and Sophia worked harder, hosting events to keep their community loyal. But money was tight, and stress frayed their edges. One night, Elena snapped over a late delivery, and Sophia walked out, needing air. Elena panicked, fearing she'd push Sophia away. She found her by the river, sketching in the dark. "I'm scared we're losing us," Sophia admitted. Elena took her hand. "We're not. We've fought worse." They doubled down, leaning on their community. Queer activists rallied, spreading the word about Heart's Haven. Caleb, now a grad student, drove down to help, bringing friends who became regulars. The bakery survived, but it was a wake-up call. Elena and Sophia needed balance. They started taking Sundays off, walking the city, rediscovering the joy of just being together. Elena baked for fun again, creating recipes inspired by Sophia chocolate tarts with chili, bold and warm like her. One evening, Caleb called with news. Their parents wanted to visit the bakery. Elena froze. Sophia raised an eyebrow. "Your call," she said. Elena took a deep breath. "Let them come." She wasn't sure what she hoped for: forgiveness, understanding, or just closure. But she was ready to face them, not as the girl they'd cast out, but as the woman she'd become. Sophia kissed her forehead. "We've got this." The day approached and Elena baked nervously, her hands shaping dough with practiced ease. Sophia painted a new mural, a heart woven with flowers, a symbol of their resilience. Whatever happened, they'd built something unbreakable, not just a bakery, but a life, a love, a home. The bell above Heart's Haven's door chimed, and Elena's heart stopped. Her parents stood in the doorway, Margaret clutching her purse, Robert leaning on a cane. At 28, Elena felt the years collapse back to that Easter night, the broken tart, the slammed door. But Sophia's hand on her shoulder pulled her to the present. It was a crisp fall morning in 2024, the bakery alive with the scent of cinnamon and coffee. Customers chatted, unaware of the weight of this moment. Elena had prepared a spread lemon tarts, a nod to that fateful Easter, alongside her signature lavender scones. Margaret's eyes softened at the sight, a flicker of recognition. Robert cleared his throat. "This place. It's yours?" he asked, his voice rough but curious. Elena nodded, pride battling nerves. "Ours," she said, glancing at Sophia. The visit was awkward, full of silences and half-spoken truths. Margaret complimented the scones, her voice tentative. Robert asked about the business, his questions practical but not cold. Sophia stayed close, her warmth a shield. When a regular, a trans teen named Jamie, hugged Elena and thanked her for the safe space, Margaret's face tightened, then softened. "You help people," she said quietly. Elena nodded, her throat tight. "I try." After they left, Elena exhaled, leaning into Sophia. "They didn't apologize," she said. Sophia kissed her temple. "They showed up. That's a start." But Elena wasn't sure. She wanted more, not just presence, but understanding. Still, seeing her parents in her space, eating her food, felt like a small victory. She'd built this without them, despite them. The bakery's struggles didn't end. The rival chain cut prices, and Heart's Haven lost more customers. Elena and Sophia brainstormed late into the night, their table covered in sketches and spreadsheets. They launched a crowdfunding campaign, sharing their story online. The response was overwhelming. Donations poured in from queer communities across the country, along with messages of love. "You gave me a place to feel safe," one read. Elena cried reading them, Sophia's arms around her. "This is why we do it," Sophia said. Caleb visited often, bridging the gap between Elena and their parents. He shared stories of their softening, Margaret attending a PFLG meeting, Robert questioning his old beliefs. Elena listened, unsure how to feel. She loved her parents, but trust was a slow rebuild. Sophia, ever patient, reminded her, "You don't have to rush. You're allowed to heal on your time." One night, Elena found an old recipe card in her mother's handwriting, tucked in a box from Willow Creek. It was for lemon tart, the dessert that had shattered her world. She stared at it, then started baking. Sophia watched, curious. "What's this?" she asked as Elena pulled the tart from the oven. "A test," Elena said. She took a bite, the tangy sweetness flooding her with memories, good and bad. She offered a piece to Sophia, who smiled. It's perfect, she said. Elena laughed, tears in her eyes. It's a start. They decided to host a community event, a family feast at Heart's Haven. They invited everyone, customers, friends, even Elena's parents. The night was chaotic, joyful, with tables overflowing with food and laughter. Margaret and Robert came, hesitant but present. They ate, talked, even laughed when Sophia told a story about Elena burning her first batch of cookies. It wasn't reconciliation, but it was progress. Elena saw her parents see her not as a disgrace, but as a woman who'd built something beautiful. As the night ended, Elena and Sophia cleaned up, their hands brushing as they stacked plates. We did good, Sophia said, her eyes bright. Elena nodded, her heart full. They'd faced the past, fought for their present, and were building a future. The bakery was more than a business, it was a testament to their love, their resilience, their refusal to be broken. 7 years after that Easter, Elena Harper stood at the counter of Heart's Haven, now a beacon in Richmond's queer community. At 28, she was no longer the scared girl kicked out of her home. Sophia, 30, was by her side, her art now celebrated nationwide. Their love had been tested by rejection, by struggle, by doubt, but it had endured, stronger than ever. The family feast had changed things. Elena's parents started visiting more, their conversations less strained. Margaret joined a baking class Elena taught, her hands clumsy but earnest. Robert, still recovering, asked about the bakery's recipes, his questions a bridge to understanding. They never fully apologized, but their actions spoke. A card on Elena's birthday, a photo of them at the bakery framed on their mantle. Elena didn't need their approval anymore, but she welcomed their effort. Heart's Haven thrived, its story spreading. A documentary crew filmed a feature, capturing Elena and Sophia's journey. The film premiered at a local festival, and as they watched it, Elena gripped Sophia's hand, tears streaming. We did this, she whispered. Sophia kissed her, grinning. Hell yeah, we did. But the past wasn't erased. Elena still had nightmares, still flinched at certain hymns. Sophia carried her own scars, lost opportunities, cruel words. They leaned on each other, their love a refuge. One evening, Elena proposed, not with a ring but with a loaf of bread, their initials carved into the crust. Sophia laughed, tears falling, and said yes. They married in the bakery, surrounded by their chosen family, with Caleb as best man and Margaret baking a cake, her first in years. The documentary brought new challenges. Hate mail arrived, echoing Willow Creek's old venom. But it also brought allies, donations, volunteers, customers from across the country. Elena and Sophia used the attention to expand Heart's Haven, opening a second location focused on job training for queer youth. They hired Jamie, the trans teen, as a baker, watching them bloom with confidence. One spring, Elena got a call from Caleb. Their father had passed. The funeral was in Willow Creek, and Elena hesitated. Sophia sat with her, quiet. You don't have to go, she said. But Elena shook her head. I want to say goodbye. At the funeral, she stood with Sophia and Caleb, her mother's hand trembling in hers. The town watched, some with judgment, others with quiet respect. Elena spoke, her voice steady, about love, her father's, flawed but real, and hers unbreakable. She didn't cry until they were back in Richmond, Sophia holding her as the grief poured out. Years later, Heart's Haven hosted its 10th family feast. The tables stretched down the street, filled with faces old and new. Margaret was there, older but smiling, helping serve Elena's lemon tarts. Caleb brought his partner, a shy botanist who loved Sophia's art. The air was thick with laughter, music, and the clink of glasses. Elena and Sophia stood at the center, their hands entwined, watching the family they'd built. As the night wound down, Elena pulled Sophia to the kitchen. I made something, she said, revealing a tart lemon like that Easter long ago, but topped with edible flowers, a nod to Sophia's murals. This is us, Elena said. The bitter, the sweet, the beautiful. Sophia kissed her, slow and deep, under the hum of the bakery's lights. You're my home, she whispered. They stepped back outside, the feast still alive. Elena looked at the crowd, her mother, her brother, their community, and felt a truth settle in her bones. She'd been kicked out, broken, but she'd risen. Not alone, but with Sophia, with love, with purpose. They'd served a meal the world couldn't swallow, a life unapologetically theirs, built on courage and heart. and it was enough. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe to get notifications about next videos.